I think at that particular time, no, I don't think anybody could have really calmed me down from that news. Um, and the fact that it was just over so quick as well meant that I had to deal with that for quite some time afterwards, for a very long time afterwards. Even little things like, oh, Dad, why did you just not take an aspirin? So there was bits of anger in there as well, lots of upset, and and then you start to question as well, did I do enough, did I call enough, did I see him enough? And they're all silly answers. They're all like, of course she did, but you don't, those things don't stop entering your mind.
Every L podcast. Every L podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Matt Brown, and you're listening to the
Every L podcast.
Each episode, we'll have a different guest come on and talk about when life hands you an L, is it really a loss or is it something else?
Because not every L's a loss.
So sit back, relax, or do whatever you guys do to get comfortable as we get into this. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Every L podcast, where every L is not a loss, and we discuss it at length. Today, I have a fantastic guest who I honestly cannot remember how I came across you. I know we probably got someone in common, but I just loved what you was doing. I thought, oh, look at that. She's doing some amazing work. And then I think I just saw your stories. I just really liked how you was as a person. And then we ended up just chatting. And I know you do a lot of things. Like I have 24 hours in my day. You seem to have like 36. I don't know how you accomplish all the things you do, but you're just so professional. You're always down at the local radio station plugging what you do. Lockdown happened. You kind of halted your business or paused your business and then started up another venture and went that way. And all of a sudden I'm starting seeing all these pictures of cars. I'm like, hang on, what? Hey, people meant to be struggling in the pandemic and my girl's just winning at life right now. So that happened, and eventually I started seeing some super cute dogs on your stories. Like, what is going on here? How and people, this is why I say she got 36 hours in a day, because I don't know how she's coping with all of this, feeding all these mouths. It's just incredible.
Thank you.
It's just a lot. But I say all that to say this: as much as she's an incredible person, hopefully not burn herself out. She's a genuinely lovely person. She's everything that I see her do. She seems to pour herself into it. She doesn't always just post about the happy-go-lucky stuff. She's very real with a lot of things she says, which is very rare, unfortunately, to say on social media in reality. And I think it's just when you catch people that you get a good vibe with, you just want to keep it going because, it just perpetuates, good vibes, gives that good vibes and so forth. But when you get that person that's got the wrong energy and brings you down, it kind of leaves you feeling some sort of way. That's not what I get with this guest here. And I'm so happy that she managed to squeeze me in her diary somehow, by hook or by crook, to jump on the podcast and to share her stories and just be a guest. So without further ado, this is the wonderful Sam. And I will now ask you, can you please share whatever you feel comfortable disclosing at this first instance before we go into your L's?
Of course. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for staying on my case to get this podcast done, because I know that and appreciate how busy I am. So I appreciate you being patient with me to come on here tonight. And thank you. It's so amazing to actually be here. Like you said, we met through social media. We have some mutual friends as well. And we've always just had this really lovely connection, and we blossomed a friendship. So it's been really, really good to know you through social media. So my name is Sam, as you've said. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, a daughter and a son. I'm a dog mama. So I'm a dog mama to 3 French bulldogs who are my absolute world. I'm a wedding and event planner, stylist, and coordinator. I'm a health and wellbeing coach, and I'm also embarking on a new venture, which is shortly going to be launched. So, yeah, so I'm literally just keeping busy, building a future and a legacy for my children, and just trying to be positive through every single day, really.
Yeah, that's a lot. And by the time this episode's probably out, the venture's probably out there, known, taking over the world already, probably in the stock one on the FTSE 100 already. So it's already there, right? We know it's going to be there. And then you never know, she might be a manager for her son as well. We don't know. We don't know.
It's all in the pipeline.
Mate, I'm telling you, the longest pipeline going. But no, greatly appreciate for having you. And of course, it's always worth my time. Like if people are busy, I appreciate it and I respect that with all, with all that's going on. And I just think that it'll be great to know you a little bit better, get other people to know you in a way that they probably didn't know you before. Um, and just know that yes, you can be successful, but just because things look rosy right here and now doesn't necessarily mean they've always looked this way.
That's right, Matt. And the thing is as well, we really need to touch up on what success is to everyone, because I think a lot of people think that success is cars and houses and Rolexes, materialistic things, but everybody has their own version of success. So I'm working towards my successes, but maybe my successes are not your successes, Matt.
Yeah.
So we all have our own successes that we're working towards, and success looks different to everybody.
Very true. I like the analogy. I can't remember if I said in the previous episode, but I treat success like a pizza. You might be a vegetarian. I might like meat feast. Some people might like
That's
pineapple on it.
right.
That's not really a pizza. That's
Yes.
just dead. But that still is a pizza to them. So we may not vibe with what the toppings that you selected or I've selected, but as long as I enjoy the food I'm consuming,
That's
it's all
right.
good. So
Yes, that's right.
we can criticize, but if you ain't going to be eating that food, don't worry about it. So if that's not
That's
your
right.
version of success and you're not upset about it, crack on, do you? You're fine. So let's go into your first L, which,
Okay.
folks, I've heard a bit about, don't know too much about because I thought, let's have a nice little conversation about it. And the first L that Sam would like to talk about is, where should I start it from? I'm pretty tough on myself where meeting deadlines, goals, dates are concerned. So I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate to that. Those people that are sort of goal getters, employed or self-employed or however else you're employed. But when did you first realize this was becoming a thing? Can you set the scene for us and let us know how you came up to this?
Yeah, I suppose that. So first of all, when I saw that, we was going to be talking about L's, I think if we was talking maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I probably could have maybe relayed so many things. Oh, this was an L, and that was an L, and this was an L. But I think as I've grown mentally, and my mindset has really, really changed, I kind of struggled a little bit with this question, Matt, if I'm being really honest, because I don't look at anything as a loss in my life, to be honest. Um, the setting deadlines, I am so tough on myself, so I know what I want, and once I've made a plan and written it down, the Bible says to write down the vision and make it plain. So once that plan's written down, I then break it down into small steps, and even put dates next to them, ideal dates of what I'd like to work towards or complete these certain goals by. And that's always kind of worked for me. However, this new venture that I'm embarking on has really put me to my tests, because I wanted to launch the business for Christmas last year. It didn't happen. I wanted to launch it for New Year this year. It hasn't happened. I wanted to launch it for the start of the summer holidays. It hasn't happened. So I've kind of had to just think, okay, right, Sam, everything in God's time and not your own. Have some patience and know that it's coming. And I've just got to be patient and just keep going forward. There was even a time I was looking back thinking, oh gosh, shall I really continue with this? But when I glanced back, I've come too far now to go back. So I've got to keep it moving and just work with it and just be a little bit patient with myself.
And that sounds like it's that's easier said than done because
It is easier said than done.
if you're such a accomplished type, well, not accomplished, achieving type of individual. The only way you achieve things is by doing things. You know, you make a plan,
That's right.
you break it down to manageable,
Yes.
digestible chunks, and then you go, right, how can I achieve this? Boom, I'm done. Move on to the next one. Oh, that's right. And it's all building blocks that lead you up to the empire that you are ultimately building. But how do you know, or how did you know when it became an issue that you was, am I wrong in saying the word obsessing over deadlines and making sure that you hit it?
Yeah, I think it was um, a turning point where I'd get I'd I'd, I'd get really anxious and start to doubt, self sabotage, self doubt, thinking, is this really going to work? But now I'm learning to deal with that by just dressing back from the situation and saying yes to everything that the universe has to kind of offer me. So if it's a closed door, okay, yes, I accept it. Let me see how I can move another way around it.
So I like that because the one thing what you mentioned about the universe, that sounds very similar to an episode I had with Karen, who came to a realization that she was, well, someone sort of presented it to her that she was fighting what the universe was offering her. And and it was sort of like lean into it.
Yes, that's right. Lean into it, accept it. Yes.
Exactly that. And I think a lot of us, unwillingly, unknowingly, naively fight it because we feel we're trying to create our own destiny because that's what we're in control of. And
That's right. Yes. That's exactly right, Matt. Like we're trying to do things our way and take control of the situation. And I think if you just let go and let God or let the universe, whichever way you look at life, I'm a let go, let God kind of girl, then you will slowly start to see everything just kind of panning out for you and fitting into place. And you also kind of realize actually that has happened for a reason.
and I think that's another part of it. That for me feels like it's come through maturity. But I know that there's been times in my past,
Yes, definitely.
in the heat of the moment, as much as I'm a very logical person, my head couldn't get engaged in that. My
Yeah,
feelings, I was all up in my feelings right there. I was feeling
that's right. And
everything.
that's the thing when you get in your feelings, you know what, when you get in your feelings, it's so dangerous. When your feelings are in the way, that is such dangerous territory. Such dangerous territory. I tell my son when we're on the pitch, we have no feelings, it's beast mode. Yeah. You apologize and shake hands after the
Yeah.
match. My son is, he's very humble. He's a very humble being. But we turn humble off when we're on the pitch. There's a time to be humble, and then there's a time where we're in straight beast mode. And that's just the same when we're in business as well. When we're in business, we're in beast mode.
And that is a very correct statement because there's a time and place for everything, in terms of how you are and so forth like that. So if you're going to deliver something like, for instance, I know I struggled in the past, and I probably to a degree sometimes do struggle with pricing certain jobs that I do for people because I don't want to feel like I'm taking liberties, but at the same time I don't want to undersell myself.
That's right.
And it's kind of like you look at Apple and you think, yo, they're unapologetic with their side.
Unapologetic.
They will charge you over four
Yeah,
figures for a
that's
phone,
right.
for not even a laptop, for a phone. They'll
Yes.
they'll give you that. They don't even give you a charger no more. They don't even give you
No,
headphones.
no,
They're
they don't
giving you
even give
less
you a
stuff.
charger anymore.
They're giving you less stuff and charge you a whole heap of money. Yet they do it, staring you right in the face. That'll be £1,300, please.
That's right, because they know their worth. This is the thing, they know their worth.
And that's it. And because they know that, yes, Android might come up with a whole bunch of features that Apple only just jumped on about now. However, they've refined it. They've delivered. They know what they're bringing to the table, and other people may not feel the same way. And I think that we need to understand that when we're going to do something, do it to that standard where we know that
That's right.
we can see our value and appreciate.
Yes, most
But
definitely.
even though we're doing that, I would like to say we need to try and be kinder to ourselves because it can have a negative effect on our mental health. Like you said, you
Yes.
had anxiety. How did you
Yeah.
cope with that? With all your, with you setting up your businesses, trying to chase your goals and stuff like that.
I, I, how I dealt with that was writing things down and reading self-help books. Personal development has really, really helped me through lockdown. So reading, and doing the things that I love that make me feel happy again. Self care, even just the littlest things like running myself a bath, you know, those kind of things help me. Meditation, prayer, visualization, yoga, working out, taking the dogs for a walk, just stepping away from the situation for a little while just to regroup.
So, did you know that it was getting bad? That you was kind of beating yourself up, getting a certain way over the deadlines, or was it someone else that kind of points it out to bring you to that realization?
No, no, I was very much self-aware of it. And it was almost as well that I got to a point where when I was doing it, I know how to pull myself straight out of it. So I think in the beginning, when you first not aware of it, it can cause great confusion, great anxiety, and you're obsessing about it. Whereas through self-help and through growth and mindset, I've really been able to just change that around now. When I know I'm getting into that space again, I know just to step back out of it and just regroup.
That's good. Is that something that you learned from a stage in your life before the pandemic, or is that something you just
That
naturally?
is something. No, that came through the pandemic. So through the pandemic, I had lost. So in my first business, which is wedding and event planning, as you can imagine, my business was hit so hard.
That's eventfully yours.
That's Eventfully yours, yes. And it was hit so hard. 53 postponed weddings for that year meant 53 postponed payments for that year. So that was going to hit me really hard financially. At first, Matt, I must tell you, at first I was really, really grateful for the time off because at that point I was so overworking myself. Weddings, when I've got a wedding on a weekend, I'm up at 5 and I don't come in probably till about 2 a.m. So sometimes I'm on 21, 22 hour days. So to be honest, when lockdown first happened, I was enjoying myself. I was really enjoying myself. And then reality hit home and thought, wow, 53 postponed weddings, 53 postponed payments. How am I going to deal with this? But at this particular time, I had then started embarking on my health and wellness business, which was going through the roof because obviously everyone was trying to keep healthy, everyone was trying to keep safe. So I had that other revenue, even though it wasn't as much as my weddings and events, I had that other revenue coming in. And
Yeah.
it was through that revenue that I then started to establish a whole different journey to network marketing. This is when I started to switch the TV off and purchase books to read. You would have never found me reading before, Matt, ever. I never used to like reading, but I found myself reading a lot of books that was helping my mindset. And then I went back to the drawing board and thought, okay, Sam, we've got no weddings this year. What can we do to help Eventfully Yours stay alive through this pandemic? So, what I started to offer were lockdown parties where they would just be, for instance, say you was throwing your son a first birthday party. Obviously, you're not going to have, it's just going to be you, your wife, and the children. So we just do small party packages, balloons, maybe an LED light up number one, and you guys can still create memories with this small party package. And we would literally just do those every single week through the week. And that's how I kept the business alive.
Wow, that's very smart. So with the books, what made you go TV off, books, come here, blow the dust off it, start turning the page and go, ooh,
Someone had actually brought me a book. So I thought, okay, it would be rude not to read it. Someone's gone out of their way to purchase this book for me. The least I can do is read it. But what I didn't realize that was going to happen was that I was literally going to just fall in love with myself all over again and actually establish a whole new world of looking at my mind, um, realizing who I am, walking in purpose, establishing where I wanted to go, and actually finding out that there was so much more other things that I want to do, Matt. Even now, even as I'm talking to you, there's so much more in the pipeline that I want to do that I haven't even started yet. So I just started to really expand my mind. I started to grow as a person. I started to look at things differently. I started to look at things like, okay, so the pandemic is here, we're in lockdown, it's nothing that we can change, so why worry about it? I just started to have a complete mindset shift. That was what it was. It was a complete shift.
Nice. So did you deal with it negatively, knowing that you want to stop focusing on deadlines too much, but at the same time, the longer you delayed achieving those deadlines, the further away it was for your goals to actually be realized?
Most definitely.
How did you get out of that cycle?
How did I get out of that cycle? To be honest, I'm still slightly in that cycle, especially with this new business. Things don't seem to be going to plan, to my plan, should I say? And it has been a challenge that I hope to talk about in the near future. But I've just got to focus on not just the end goal, but the process and the journey. And I had to kind of remind myself of that because that's something that I will tell my son a lot. Like, let's not focus on just being a footballer, but let's focus on the actual journey to get there. The process matters, the journey to get there matters, and it's just as important as the end goal. So that's what I'm trying to kind of mold myself around, that this is part of the process, it's part of the plan, it's part of the story, it's part of the journey.
And did you react negatively when you just didn't hit deadlines? Like what did Sam look like when she didn't hit a deadline?
Oh gosh, I frustrated. Sleep. I mean, there was one point where sleep was just okay. If I can get 3 hours, I'm good. But sleepless nights, um, going to sleep, but my mind not sleeping, and all those deadlines and dates reoccurring in my mind. So then waking up exhausted, like I haven't slept. It was all that kind of stuff. And it was about as well being on the go. I was on the go too much. I wasn't making time for myself. There was no self care involved. I was literally just this hamster on a wheel constantly.
So was that a case of you serving everyone else but not yourself?
Yes, I think so. I think at one point there was no room for me, I wasn't allowing room for self care.
Wow. So for you, the turning point was the pandemic where things stopped. Let's be fair, people. There's 56 weeks in a year. You had 53,
53.
53 weddings for. So if you're putting those, that's a lot of weddings. Granted, a lot of them might not have been for the same year, it might have been for the following, but that's a lot for one person to be conducting and organizing themselves. And then you took the time to sort of reflect, do you a little bit, but then you had a light bulb moment
Yes.
and realized, all right, cool, someone's bought me this book, let me just. But was that book for a birthday, or was it just a random book someone had bought
It
you because they thought
was
of you?
it was I'd embarked on my health and wellness journey, and I'd met a milestone. So my mentor at the time, my sponsor at the time, had brought me this book to basically say, well done.
Nice.
The first thing was, what are you reading, Sam? I'm like, my Bible. And then she presented me with a gift. I opened it and it was a book. And that book led on to many, many more books. I can't even believe how many books I actually own. And I don't just read them, Matt. My daughter will even tell you this. I get the book, I highlight, I make notes, I study the book. So this is not just a case of flipping pages, flipping pages. No, I take the time to underline stuff, highlight stuff that resonate with me that I know that I can use in the future, write notes.
That's fantastic.
I literally destroy the book, to be honest. You'd hate me if you're one of those people that likes their books pristine. You'd absolutely hate me for my books.
Yeah, but at least it means you're reading it and taking
That's
taking
right.
value out of it. So
Yeah,
that's the
that's right.
positive. So since that was a bit of an L for you because you realize it's not good that you maintain this, what have you gained from it? What is, you said, you mentioned about this, self-care being a thing, but was there anything else that comes to mind that you learned from that experience?
Yeah, growth and looking at things differently. Um, I think back then I tried to control everything. I was a bit of a control freak. Everything had to go my way. But now I'm looking at things differently. I'm not focusing on the things that I can't change, but more so focusing on the things that I can. And I'm learning to just make that time for myself so that I don't burn out.
If, and you might have heard me say this before in my previous episodes, I'll always ask people if you could go back in time to, when you was really in it, what would you say to your younger self? But I kind of want to change it slightly and say, if you could tell yourself at an earlier stage before the pandemic, when would that have been and why?
It would have been before I left my 9 till 5 job. Well, actually, it was a 9 till 3. To literally venture out on my first business, it would have been then, because I had stayed in that job for 13 years, so miserable, and depending on the security of being able to pay the bills, rather than doing what I love and working on my passion.
And what would you have told yourself then? You're just about to step out your 9 to 3. You just start to step out your 9 to 3, and you're like, "What,
Yeah.
girl? I know you. I know you're about that life. I know you're trying to make it rain and do it on your terms and conditions. However, what is it you're going to sell her?"
I would say believe in yourself and trust the process.
So, are you saying that you didn't believe in yourself at that time?
Yeah, I stepped out in a lot of fear. I stepped out in a lot of, when I left my 9 till 3 job, the first thing that you start to think of is, how am I going to pay these bills? I've left the job. I've got an empty diary. Yes, I've got so many plans, but you have to actually go out and get these bookings now. You've got mouths to feed, you've got bills to pay, you've got a roof to keep over your head. Um, and there was a lot of fear. It took a lot for me to hand my notice in, but what I was doing before wasn't serving me, and I could no longer stay there. And I always told myself, Matt, that if I'm to leave this job, it is to only to work for myself. There was no option of me going to work for somebody else. That wasn't me. I wasn't going to have another employer, another boss to tell me what to do. If I was leaving that job, it was to work for myself. And I kept that promise to myself.
And that's really positive. And what would you tell yourself about the deadlines?
Not to stress over the deadlines. In fact, I probably wouldn't even call them deadlines at the moment. I would maybe I'd still have a goal, because you do have to have a goal date in, a roundabout time that you want something to happen or you want to achieve something, but not to obsess over it. Like it's not the be all and end all that it's got to be done by the end of January.
And how are you now dealing with the fact you've got all these plans that goes in that next business ventures in the pipeline, hopefully for
Yeah, which I'm so
this year at
excited
some
for.
point,
Yes, most
and
definitely.
you're saying, I've got other plans. How are you coping with those as we speak?
That I've been really, really good with this, Matt. So I do have those other plans, and I'm making baby steps towards them. So I always say baby steps daily. So I'm working towards them already, baby steps. But I'm focused on finishing this project first.
That's fantastic. So I like that you'll be able to go back to yourself, give yourself a bit of encouragement, going, yeah, might not have it down, but you'll get there. But don't stress or obsess over
Yes, of
the stuff.
course.
But
That's right.
let's assume someone's listening and they're toying with the idea of going self-employed. You left your 9 to 3 job with no diary, no plans. Well, you had
No
plans, sorry, but
savings.
you didn't. Wow, okay.
No
My
savings.
girls just out here
Yeah,
just doing the most
that's
with the
right.
least budget. But you're out there doing this. But what would you say to yourself, or what would you say to a person that's potentially thinking about what are the key points that you think that would be a takeaway from them that you've learned? So not right or wrong. It's just what you would think in that situation.
First of all, there's no right time. I think I stayed in that job so long waiting for the right time to leave. And the truth behind that, Matt, is that there's never no real right time for anything. If you just said this was the right time to have your twins, you know, nothing is planned. Exactly. No, there's no right time for anything. We jump out on a leap of faith, and we just trust the process and just get it done. When I left my 9 till 3, I knew that have got no choice now. I've got no choice now to bring those bookings in and work on that business and expand on that business. I looked at the people around me, really looked at my circle and thought, right, if I'm going to make this happen, then I need to have all the right people around me, the mentor, the inspiration, the accountant, the PR team. These are all my teamies that are going to get me to my goal. So I would definitely say to somebody, if someone is thinking of going out there self-employed and they have a passion, they have something that they love, literally write down some goals, make some plans on how to do it, break it down and work on it daily. When I was at my job, I wasn't even doing the job, Matt. I was just there working on my business in the job, because the thing is, if you wake up to do something that you love, Matt, there's nothing better than waking up doing something that you love.
Yeah. And what's that phrase? A dream isn't what you have at night when you're sleeping. A dream's what keeps you up at night.
That's right. That's right. But a dream is just a dream without a goal, without plans. Plans are necessary.
Very true. And I think as well, just break it down to a way that works for you and something that you
That's
can
right.
deliver on consistently. It's all well and good
Most definitely.
listening to the words or read the words or hear the words of someone else and say, oh, that's amazing, I'm going to follow suit on that, but you can't consistently deliver on it. That's not right for you. You need to find something that fits you.
You've got to model it around what you're doing. That's right.
Yeah, and the dynamics of what you're working with. So
exactly,
success comes in cans, not can'ts or cannot. So focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do.
That's right.
And again, if you think of success as a number and that number was 10, you could go 3 times 3 plus 1.
Yes.
You could go 100 minus 90. There's so many ways you can get to that number.
Yeah, there's so many ways.
It's just one size doesn't fit all. And that's what I think is important in this situation. But
yes,
no, greatly appreciate you sharing that wonderful series of nuggets there. So let's go on to your next L if you're all right with that.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Let's have a look. The next one you want to talk about is the only L I would consider in my life is the loss of my father. Everything L in my life has been nothing but a lesson for me to grow from, but true loss was a loss of my hero.
Yes.
Yeah, that hit home on many different reasons. Please, I understand it's going to be a very, very sensitive topic.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Go back as far as you feel you need to go back to sort of give us a little bit of understanding of what the situation is leading up to when it happened and the impact it had on you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, my father was almost like my creative director. So when I was little, he would help me make the Easter parade hats and and help me with my artwork, things like that. And he was an absolute artist. When I was a child, like we worked on so many projects together, it was unreal. So so to lose my dad, I felt like I'd lost my creative direction. But the creativity in me still lives because I get that from him. So when I saw your podcast and it was talking about losses, I do look at everything as a lesson. Nothing is a loss to me. I look at everything as a lesson because without lessons, you can't grow. So I don't really look at anything as a loss. But yes, like I said to you in my message, the the biggest loss, or what I would consider and still consider a loss, is the loss of my dad.
So that I can appreciate, because it sounds like you had a fantastic relationship with him. It sounds like you was Beyonce and
Yes.
he was Beyonce's dad. You know, just doing them things. Matthew Knowles, that's what his name is. I should have known that. What a great name. Um, but it sounds like he was there. He was fully supportive and helped you in ways that you can now describe, but probably at the time you couldn't. When he did pass, was you relatively young?
No, my dad passed away 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I dropped the children off to school, and the night before, he had had some pains in his chest. And my dad was one of those that never took things like Nurofen and paracetamol and things like that. So it was like, oh, it'll be fine. It's okay. I'm just going to go to bed and sleep it off. And then I dropped the children off to school the next day, and my mother called me. And Matt, I can't tell you how those screams from my mum down the phone they'll probably haunt me for the rest of my life. Those screams, because nothing prepared me. In fact, something did prepare me, but nothing prepared me for the loss of my dad. And I remember being in church the day before, and it stems back to, so I got baptized in July, and then leading up to September, the Sunday before the Monday that I found out the news, my pastor had said to me, "Something's coming, Sam. Something is coming, and I need to prepare you for it." And she gathered the ministers, the ministerial team, and they formed a circle around me and prayed for me. But she said, "I don't know what it is, but it's coming, and I need you to prepare for it." And it was so odd that the next day, um, that news came and almost changed my life, man.
Sounds really heart-wrenching, and very sorry for you and your family's loss and everyone else that was impacted on that. It's never a good time to lose a loved one. For those that don't know, I've lost 5 family members over the space of 16 months, all in separate occurrences. So I've had more suits to go to funerals than I did any other function. So
Yes.
even though I was relatively young in my high school years, it still had a lasting impact on me. So I can only imagine what it's like losing someone really near and dear to you, in that capacity. It just doesn't feel right at any point. But
No.
it's nice that you had that sort of support around you, that you had that kind of heads up, and you had those people that
Yes.
were there to able to support you and give you what you needed. It may not have been physically what you needed, but it sounds like it spiritually was what you needed to
Oh,
help you
it was
brace for it.
definitely yeah, it definitely helped me. And my church family are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And I think that in comparison to some of my other siblings, although it was hard for me, I found ways through my faith to deal with it better, should I say, and to try to seek comfort from it, and to try to look at the bright side of things. But it is hard. It's really, really hard, because my dad hasn't been around in the time when I've stepped out to be this entrepreneur, and he hasn't been around, to see my son going on to a football career, my daughter being an absolute beauty and brain box, and he hasn't seen any of that. He hasn't physically witnessed any of that.
And I can only imagine how hard it is, because you looked up to him. He was your hero, and he's then not able to see the fruits of his labor that he put into
Yes,
you and your
yes,
other
that's right.
siblings, to sort of
Yes,
say, "Dad, this is what if you didn't treat me or raise me the way you was, we
yes,
wouldn't be here today." But I
yeah,
think that's probably more telling about how amazing he was in the foundation that him and his wife, your mum, created in you guys to help you say,
yes.
"Yeah, do you know what? I kind of did all I did so that when I'm not here, you're still going to flourish." And here you are, flourishing as you are. But how did you deal with that? Because I'm not trying to dominate a conversation about how my experiences with death, but for you to hear your mother cry
Yeah.
on the phone like that, you said that would haunt you until
Scream.
scream. Sorry,
Oh yeah, I'll hear those. I'll hear those screams forever, Matt.
but how did you deal with that? Because you just dropped the kids off. Like, do you live far from your mother?
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't live far. I went straight to the family home. We arranged, obviously, to pick the children back up from school, and it was really hard, Matt. I'll tell you why it was hard, because my mother is Jamaican and my father is Asian, the Hindu culture, and the way that they do things is so quick. Like they do it so quick, it's turned around in a matter of days, and you don't have that time for it to sink in. And even the way that they do things, with the funeral, going down, like the older boys have to go down there, and which would have been my brothers, go down and wash the body and dress the body. The body actually comes into the family home, called the, the puja, um, and then it's off to the crematorium, and literally everything is over, like in a space of days. And I remember being in the funeral car, Matt, and I remember looking outside, and the whole world is just going by as normal. And I just wanted to scream out to everyone, "Excuse me, like I've lost my dad here. Can you all just stop what you're doing for a moment?"
Yeah,
and
mourn as
and I
well.
think, yeah, and I think that is the saddest thing about death, is that everything just still keeps moving in the background. And that was difficult for me. That was really difficult for me.
And I can imagine because that's your not your entire world, but a big part of your world
Oh
that
my word.
is no longer there. It's
Yeah,
now a planet that's no longer orbiting you. It's just ouch.
yeah.
Did that impact your way? Like how? Well, not even impact you. As a mother, how did you cope with that? Because you still had
It made me
parental
feel very
responsibilities.
lonely. It made Yeah, that's right. And I think if it wasn't, when you have children, you kind of not what's the word? You try not to cry around them as often, and you try not to be upset. Um, but my downtime was maybe the evenings after they'd go to bed. I was really struggling. I was really struggling. Even now, sometimes, Matt, we recently lost my grandmother, which is his mom, and I
Yeah,
literally feel like it's an end of an era, because my grandfather passed away, then my dad passed away, and now his mother passed away just a few weeks ago. So it kind of brought everything back up, and I'd
yeah.
literally just feel like it's an end of an era on that side of the family at the moment.
And I get that, and I'm very sorry again for your loss. It's I guess the comfort words I would try to share is it feels that way, and it's going back to what we previously said about your
Yes,
head. We're
that's right.
logical people, but when you're
Yes,
caught up in your feelings, your head suddenly has no
yeah,
access to anything.
that's
They're
right.
locked out,
That's right.
and you're
Yes,
feeling all that you're feeling. But
yeah,
when you look at your family and you look at how amazing your son is, how amazing your
yes,
daughter is, all the amazing things you've accomplished, you kind of say that they're not gone. It's just
yeah.
a
They're
different
they're
model.
very much still alive in me.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a
that's
different
right.
model. It's a modern day model that's showing like, how are you doing such great things? Well, you see the people that went before me?
Yes,
Hmm.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah. Here we are. And I think that's something that is hard to deal with. But I guess you look at the planet as well, it's a crowded place, mate.
That's
Unfortunately,
right.
people coming in, people have to go out.
Yes,
And it's
that's right.
unfortunate when it's gonna be
Yeah, and it's
someone we care
guaranteed.
about, or even when it comes to us.
That's
We don't
right.
want to check out, but
Yeah,
if we don't go,
no,
someone else can't come in.
that's right.
And it is hard, but that's just my personal and weird way of seeing it. I guess it's what keeps me comforted knowing that people are not going to be around forever. But you know what? Do the work you can do now while you can do
That's
it now.
right.
Enjoy it every moment you can.
Exactly. We've just got to, for me, I always say to the children, it's not what we own in this life. We don't own anything in this life. We're all on
Hmm.
borrowed time, Matt. Tomorrow isn't promised, but do little things, to make a difference in other people's lives. I'm personally working towards just leaving a legacy behind for my children. You know, the clothes, the cars, the jewelry, none of that stuff's going to matter. But what I leave behind, the legacy that I leave behind for them, that's what matters. The people that you've helped along the way, you know, that you've made a difference to somebody else's life, they're the things that matter. They're the things that get you through this life.
Yeah,
They're the things that people remember you for.
definitely that. And did your, I don't want to say your children suffer because that's not appropriate. I want to say, did they,
Were they affected?
yeah, because again, it's really this is a very hard topic for me right now because I'm going back to my
Yes,
time,
of course.
and I
Yeah.
know that I felt, and my mum's not going to be happy hearing this, but it is what it is. At some point, I felt neglected because
Yes.
my mum lost one of her parents, and then within 16 months lost the other parent, and in
Okay.
between that lost nephews and nieces. So I was quite neglected because she's dealing with the
Yes.
family and everyone else like
Family
that.
stuff. Yeah.
I can only imagine my mum's trying to hold it down on her ones, trying to do everything.
Yeah.
As an individual, you are entitled to feeling what you need to feel. As parents, it kind of feels like you'll martyr everything. I'm doing everything for my babies. I don't need to. I'm tired. I was tired. I'm doing everything for everybody. But when something like that hits you, I can imagine it disrupts you so deeply that it's
Yeah,
hard to
it is.
continue as normal in quotation
Yes.
marks. How do you think that impacted your parental responsibilities or how you was within the house compared to how your children had previously seen you?
Well, I definitely give a lot of thanks to my partner, the father of my children, because when I'm down, he's there to pick up the pieces. So if children know that, oh, mom's down or mom's feeling low, um, they're never neglected in that sense. They know they have their father as well, which is great. And what I love about my family is that me and my partner have always been so very open and honest with our children. We talk to our children talk to us. It is so, so important that you have that relationship with your children because we're living in dark times, Matt. We're living in very, very dark times. And the only thing I ever wanted really was for my children to be comfortable enough to come to me and be able to tell me anything. I might not like what they have to say, but if I have encouraged my children to be open and honest with me, then I can't then be shouting at them and, you know, ridiculing their feelings. I've got to be open and honest back as well. So when we do go through low times, valley times that I call them, you know,
Yeah.
that they're very understanding. They have each other. They have a great relationship with each other as well, and they have this bond with our church family as well. So they're never short of anyone to turn to, which I love.
And that's a beautiful thing to hear. It really is. Do you do you think that you've I don't think that's the right question to ask. I really, really am this this sounds just being
Go
spun
for
me
it.
right now. I like the fact that you've got that relationship with your kids. I am trying to have the same one with my children, but my children are significantly younger than yours. But for me, it doesn't hurt to still allow them to have that space to talk. So where I will ask him, how are you feeling? He's like, I'm feeling good or I'm feeling sad, whatever. I'm still giving him that space, that time to talk. My question is, I guess, when you felt that way, do you think you reacted in a negative way or I don't know, just weren't cooking dinner, weren't looking after yourself. Mentally, you was just, nah, can't be asked. Work's not even a thing.
Yeah, most definitely. Even you know, I definitely still have a time where I say like I'm feeling negative. But because my children know me and they know how I am, like for instance, my daughter, she's 16 now, she'll be 17 in October. But if she knows that I'm having that kind of day, she will physically say, right, okay, come on, stop now, mom. Let's have a look. What's wrong? What can we do to make the situation better? So I feel like growing as they've grown up, I've also taught them in regards to mindset, in how to think as well. They've whatever I have been quite late in knowing, I'm feeding it to them as early as possible, Matt, so that they can develop this from now. Even the things that that we never used to know anything about saving money as children in my era. Saving money, property investment, running your own business, working for yourself and being your own boss. They weren't a thing when I was a child. It was, no, you've got to go and get your grades, make sure you've got good grades so you can get a good job and work a 9 till 5. That was it. That was it. We wasn't taught anything else. However, because I know that I wasn't taught those things, I'm now teaching my children those things. So when Shania is 18, I'm like, go and buy your first flat or your first apartment, your first house, save your money, invest. I'm teaching my children these things now. Because if I have it my way, I don't want my children to grow up, Matt, and be working for somebody else for years and years and years to come. It's nice to have the experience. Like I said, she's got an interview tomorrow morning for a summer job. But I have also taught Shania business and entrepreneurial skills. Shania works with me at Eventfully Yours. Shania has placed orders for me for my health and wellness business. Shania will probably go on and work some hours in my new business venture. I'm teaching Shania and Tevez, teaching both my children to be their own bosses, their own entrepreneurs.
And what do you think so important about that? You touched it about saying that you was taught things late or you came to things late, but you want to get a head start on it. Why else do you think it's important? Because technically school prepares them for life, does it not?
I think what school doesn't prepare them for is struggle. When I've worked, it's almost like you work to pay bills. And when I worked back then, I literally had enough money to pay the bills, but then there was not much left after that to enjoy life. So you end up being in a cycle of surviving and not living. I want my children to live, Matt. I want my children to live.
So it sounded like you had a job just over broke.
Yeah, that's right.
Which unfortunately is a vicious cycle that we can find ourselves being
It's
in.
a vicious, exactly, for years and years to come.
I was talking to someone about it, and I think I spoke to a couple of people about this, and where I have history in finance, 15 years of it, it was the fact that you have mums and dads, if you're from our culture, but they'll cuss you out, saying
Yeah.
like, don't ask me a question about money. Like, this is big people problem. Like, mind your business. All right, cool. And then they see you spend money on things that they don't agree with, and then cuss you out, saying why you save money. And it's like, you ain't taught me nothing about money. When I ask you, you go shoot me
That's
in my
right.
face.
Yeah,
So why now, when I go do my own thing, you're then coming at me like I should know everything, like I've got a degree in it. You ain't told me anything. So let me just do me.
exactly. Yeah,
If you don't want me to go, don't do me. Tell me.
that's right. And I don't think that the schools don't teach children these things, business owning, property investment, saving money, mortgages, things like they don't, the schools do not teach them.
Can they spell mortgage?
They don't teach them about multiple streams of income. They don't teach those things in school.
Yeah. It is unfortunate that the school system is archaic as it is and doesn't necessarily feel like it's fit for purpose. I don't know if it's a bit of a broad statement to make, but it feels like it is far away from what today is all about.
Yes, most definitely.
And I think if it could be revamped, then hopefully it could do it. But from the sounds of it, you're doing a fantastic job living the life you're living, showing your children, not just telling them how they can live their lives. And hopefully, because you brought them on a journey with you, they can see how you've gone from being working for a company, making them lots of money and then paying you quite well for it, and then saying to them, do you know why they pay me this money? Because I'm making them X amount of money. Let me show you how that's done by you now stepping out, doing your own thing. And
Yes.
yes, there's a chance that you could step out and you fall flat on your face, but there's every other chance that you might soar high in the sky.
That's right.
And you
Yeah.
don't have to be the best, because you ain't trying to get every single client out there. You're just trying to
No,
get in, you're
definitely
trying to
not.
carve out your own space that is enough for you and your family to achieve your dream. And plus, if you're going to try and do other ventures, you don't want too much, because it's like, I need this plate to be able to spin on its own or with minimal interaction, so I can go spin some other plates over there and do other things.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that sounds good. Do you think that do you think your dad would be proud of you?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I'd like to think so. I think that I think he's very proud of me. I think he's very proud of me, which makes me very proud of myself.
I have no doubt he'd be proud of you. And I like the fact that you smiled. Just thinking about him, just like the mention of him just makes you smile. And that is, and I think that in itself, and the joy, the laugh that you have for him, that tells me that he's still here. His memories will never go
Yes.
away, especially if they're making you smile, especially making you laugh. And you just bring joy to other people's lives. And that's through the relationship you had with him. And here it is manifesting itself in what you do. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Is there anything you would have told yourself shortly after you received the news, and you may not have reacted in the best possible way? Is there anything you would have told yourself to kind of get you to subside the emotions and then re-engage the head a little bit?
I think at that particular time, no, I don't think anybody could have really calmed me down from that news. Um, and the fact that it was just over so quick as well meant that I had to deal with that for quite some time afterwards, for a very long time afterwards. Even little things like, oh, Dad, why did you just not take an aspirin? So there was bits of anger in there as well, lots of upset, and and then you start to question as well, did I do enough, did I call enough, did I see him enough? And they're all silly answers. They're all like, of course she did, but you don't, those things don't stop entering your mind, should I say. You go through a lot of what ifs in your mind. You ask yourself a lot of questions, um, and probably create more problems that didn't even exist, just because of the way that you are in your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. So if you're saying there was nothing that anyone could say or do at that point, what helped you to get to the point where, should I say, we landed? You kind of, you was up there, you was going through everything, and now you're like, I'm there.
My faith.
Okay. Did you go to church straight after it happened?
It was just the continuation, really, of attending church. I don't think that if it had not been for my church family, Matt, I think I probably would have gone off on a very downward spiral. I don't think things would have been as easy flowing as they were, even though there was still a lot of hurt and anger. But I don't think I'd have dealt with things very diplomatic the way that I did. I think I would have been very acting out of rage, acting out of anger, but going to church and hearing the word of God, being around my church family and crying it out in church and just being unapologetically upset. I was upset. So it was definitely my church that got me through.
Do you know what? I absolutely love that. Unapologetically upset. And I think too many of us are apologetic for all the wrong reasons. Why you apologize for being who you are? And there's no reason why who you are today isn't necessarily going to be a different person who you are tomorrow, the day after, or whatever. Just be you, own that,
Yes, that's
so you
right.
can grow and go past it if need be. I really do. So that was a loss, clear and simply. There's no other way of putting that.
That was definitely a loss. Yeah, that was a big L.
What have you gained? What have you gained from experiencing that in life?
I've gained I've gained strength that I didn't know that I had. I've gained clarity. Um, I've gained the process that or the confirmation really that not everything is forever. So love the people that are around you and cherish them. When you find good people in your life, might keep them, because tomorrow isn't promised.
I think that's good. I think that's yeah. This is a definitely hard topic for me. My gosh, I thought I'd handle this, but clearly, death is definitely one of those ones that is just I'm struggling with. Maybe I'll have to do a solo
It is
episode
a
where I
sore
talk it
one.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely gonna have to talk that one out at some point. Gosh. So, what I'm gonna say is thank you very much for all you said, shared, and I wish nothing but the best for you and your family, and obviously your fur
Thank you,
babies
Matt.
because they're super cute and whatnot. For the next however long, plug yourself, your businesses, your everything you're doing. Let people know where they can find you, reach out to you. The floor is yours.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook. So my first business, which is wedding and event planning, styling and coordinating, that is Eventfully Yours. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also find my health and wellbeing page under Samantha Laurel on Instagram. And you'll slowly but surely be seeing my new business venture, which again will be the Sweet Treat, and that will be on Instagram as well.
All of those links will be in the show notes, so you'll see it there. You'll find her. To be honest, you're going to see it on every billboard anyway. You're going to see it on TV and on all YouTube ads. All of a sudden, you're watching your thing on YouTube, and it's like, I know Sam. What's she doing? Yeah, of course, yeah.
God willing, God willing.
It's taking over the world one venture at a time. Gosh, are you on LinkedIn?
No, I'm not, you know. You know what, Matt? Let me tell you a secret. I I did not discover social media until 4 years ago when birthing Eventfully Yours, because I steered away from it so much because I just didn't want that distraction. And I saw a lot of things being posted on social media that were just not for me. So I always personally stayed away from it. I was never on Facebook personally. I was never on Instagram personally, nothing. And then when I decided to step out on my business venture, my friend said to me, "You do realize what you're going to have to do now. The one thing that you hate." And I'm like, "What?" She said, "Social media. You're going to have to learn how to run social media." And you know what? I'm still not the best at it, Matt, but I know the basics. I know the basics, and the basics get me through. And 90% of my business is through Instagram alone.
I could honestly tell you're doing a fantastic job. Your pictures are amazing.
Thank you so much.
There's always room for improvement in everything we do. But when I look at your picture, I'm like, my girl's get a proper professional with it. It's like, no, this is my iPhone. Oh,
I'm
shame.
literally using my
Shame.
iPhone, Matt.
Shame. You know what I mean? My girl's got better angles than I do, and I have a DSLR. Like, come on. It's like, what? What? But you're doing a great job, and all the people you're making happy with the weddings and the stylings, and it's not, yes, it's a money making exercise because people are willing to pay whatever they pay for LV, Gucci, and whatnot. Break me off something, and I'll make your day as best I can do.
It's got to be deeper than that, though.
Yeah, but that's what I like about you've attached yourself to it. It's what you want to do, and you're helping them achieve what they want in life. But
That's right.
you're adding your little spin to it. You're listening to them, and you're making their dreams a reality. So
Oh, yes, most definitely.
that is commendable, and I just love how professional you are with it all. Yeah, I've got nothing but good vibes for you, and just hope that you go from strength to strength to strength.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And all I can say is
I really appreciate being on here.
I appreciate having you. I just feel like I dropped the ball come the second question. I was like,
Don't worry. I thought either you'll go or I'll go. So I'm glad that you've gone.
Yeah, it was just like, it's fine. It's fine. It just proves I'm human. So all the people that say, how are you staying so straight faced throughout all these interviews? Yeah. Yeah. That's my kryptonite. That's my kryptonite right there. So I will probably do a solo episode at some point where I explain my journey around that.
Why it's a touchy subject.
Yeah, it will be forever and a day.
I think it's definitely good to talk about it. I think when we bottle stuff up, we harbour feelings that fester out of us in a negative way.
Yeah.
And it brings back bad feeling as well. And it's something that I've had to learn to do as well, Matt, that I used to bottle things up. I'm not one to go out talking to everyone and anyone about what's going on in my life. So yeah, I had to find those people around me, Matt, that I could speak openly and honestly with. And that brought healing. It brought a lot of healing.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's part of the reason why I like the podcast, because I get to have people that I feel like I get good vibes with, have that conversation, and just keeps that energy going. Whereas, unfortunately, when you're out on the street, you don't know who you're going to be talking to and what type of energy they may be carrying themselves.
That's right.
So, yes, once again, thank you very, very much for coming on here.
Thank
you very much for your daughter for her tech support throughout the call. So I will wrap this up and say to everyone, if you want to reach out and connect with Sam, she's there. All her socials in the show notes. You'll see us. I'll collaborate with her when I put the post out on Instagram, so you'll see it there. Fantastic individual, taking over the world, one business at a time. And honestly, if you don't know about her now, trust me, you're gonna know about her soon enough. So everyone, if you haven't learned already, every L is not a loss. Please follow us on Instagram, which is Every L Podcast, and Twitter, which is Every L Podcast once again. You'll find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and whatnot. I'm getting there. It's a lot of work. But ultimately, guys, girls, and however you identify, enjoy yourself, live life as you can in the present, and just remember, your right now is not your forever. Take care. See you next time.